Fishing Obsessed Podcast. We'll be sitting down with a fresh guest each week. Someone who shares the same kayak fishing passion that runs through our veins. We're talking kayak anglers, kayak companies, lure experts. Heck, anyone who's got a story to tell about landing the big ones from a kayak. We're setting our sights on becoming the #1 kayak fishing podcast in the world. You'll get a chuckle, a grin, and hey, maybe even a belly laugh. Because we believe in the power of humor. But above all, we're here to educate and inspire. So, whether you're a seasoned kayak angler or just dipping your toes into this exhilarating world, join us on the Kayak Fishing Obsessed Podcast. It's time to reel in adventure, camaraderie, and the joy of the catch. Here's your host, Daren Wendell.
Hey guys, welcome to podcast episode 41, brought to you by the Wendell Fishing YouTube channel. Tonight we have the winners of the Knuklhed Bass Fishing Series for Team Wendell on tonight. And so we're going to be talking about how they have been able to consistently catch big bass, how they've been able to pattern big bass consistently, right? Tournament winning large 20-inch plus bass month after month after month. It's not like they just won one month, right? We're talking, I've been following all of them. They've been able to do it month after month after month. So hopefully, this is my goal, that we be able to have them on, and that one of us, we would just be able to take maybe just one piece of information to help make us a better angler. So that's pretty awesome. Got some news and announcements for you guys. I'm celebrating on the Wendell Fishing YouTube channel 20 years of watch time, which it just kind of blows my mind. Started this channel 2.5 years ago, and we just hit 20 years of watch time. So that's pretty awesome. If you're watching it from the podcast, maybe you're out there tinkering with your fishing kayak on the way to work, coming home from work, maybe you're even at work, right? Doing a workout. Thank you for listening in. I am incredibly grateful for you. This is a top 10% podcast of all podcasts out there. And so hopefully I'm trying to up my game week after week. So hopefully this is continuing to get better for those who've been with me. I'd love to hear from you as well. If you're out there on the podcast, reach out through any of the socials. I'd love to hear from you. So please do that. Guys, we finished up a month between the last show and this show, which puts the last and final Knuklhed winner on the team. And so let me share my screen here. Let me head over here and check this out. All right. So let's head over to Fishing Chaos. And the winner for August is Jack McRoberts with 103.75 inches. Tammy Sanchez came in second with 100.5 inches. She was already on the team. So that's awesome. I came in third with 95.75 inches. I'm already on the team. Jake Tomlin came in fourth with 94 inches. He was already on the team. And then Levi Bolgren, 89.5 inches. So not too bad. But I do want to let everybody know. And so this is kind of exciting. And this might not have been public knowledge. But recently, a couple of weeks ago, Chad Hoover at Kayak Bass Fishing, there's a wild card team. So if you're like, oh man, I was so close for a couple of those months, I still want to do this. There is a September wild card team that you can sign up for, and you can win your spot on one of the 5 slots. And there's also going to be an October wild card team. So 2 additional teams have been added. So this is going to be pretty exciting. So if you're interested in that, head over to fishingchaos.com. And I have a giveaway later in the show. So I have a randomizer wheel. And as I promised, for anybody who signed up in any of the months, if you signed up for August to fish, you didn't even have to catch a fish. You get put into a drawing, and I'm going to do a randomizer tonight to win $100 gift card to castcray.com. And the last thing, I'd love to have you join and become a YouTube member of the channel. And so I currently don't run any ads on the podcast, and how I support it is just through the Wendell Fishing YouTube revenue. So I'd love for you to be a member. If you have not done that, hit the join button, and there's a couple options there for you. I'm not making money on this bad boy. All the money goes right back into the channel for microphones and streaming services and all that bad boy, all that stuff. So no problem there, but would love to have you join. Now remember, this is an interactive show if you're tuning in live on YouTube. So hit us up with your questions. But let's welcome to the show the winners of the Team Knuklhed Bass Fishing Series for Team Wendell, I got Jake Tomlin. Jake, you look like you're fishing, brother.
Oh, yeah. I'm heading back to get in the truck and talk with you guys.
He's out on his kayak. I love it. We got Tammy Sanchez. Tammy, welcome to the show. Oh, I don't got your audio there.
Sorry about that. I was on mute. Thank you.
Oh, it's all good. That's because I asked everyone to mute when you're not talking. So it's what might happen throughout the show. But thank you. All right, we got Greg Massa. How you doing, Greg?
Good. How are you doing?
Right on. Welcome to the show, brother. And then Jack McRoberts. Jack, how are you? Can you hear us, Jack? All right. I see him. I do not hear him yet, but not a problem. All right. So kind of want to go around the horn here and congratulate you. And really just wanted to, if there was one thing, right, we're just going to hop right into this. If there's one thing in this tournament series or that really you felt like gave you kind of that unique advantage, what would that be, right? Share that with everyone else. What was that one thing that maybe you patterned those bass, your pre-fishing strategy, a particular lure, just something? I asked everyone kind of think of this one question before we popped in. And so I'm going to start with Tammy. Tammy, do you mind starting us off first? Tell us a little about yourself, where you fish from, the primary bodies of water that you fish, kind of gives everyone a kind of idea where you're located at in the country, and then let us have it.
Sure. So Tammy Sanchez, I currently live in Newberry, New Hampshire. I primarily fish just a lot of my local ponds and lakes. Nothing, extraordinary, just small ponds and lakes around me. Something I can get to quickly because I like to fish mornings before work and sometimes after work. So anything within a half hour, I'll try to hit. Let's see, in terms of lures, I think my most successsul has been a jig.
Okay.
I love to fish a jig, football jig, ball head jig. Now in the summer, I use something that's a little bit bigger profile, really big, flappy, twin tail grub kind of thing. Early mornings, late evenings, I also like to use big top waters.
Okay. Any particular favorites on the top waters?
Yeah, my favorite, there's a friend of mine, Chris Ellis. He has he's got a company starting MTL baits that I really enjoy using. Some of my favorites are I love anything with wings.
It looks like a Kyogre. What is that thing?
Cool.
That thing is massive.
Yeah. So
can you put that up to the camera a little bit? And for those who are watching in, oh wow.
Let's see if I can find the angle.
Okay, things with wings. That's definitely, I definitely
I
own one of those.
Yeah,
what
I
is
love
it?
Crawlers. Anything that's a crawler, I love to use. I do a lot of wake baits too. This is one of my newest ones that I got from him that I've started just using recently. He calls it the Bruce Gillis. So it's a three-piece Bruce Gillis. Pretty cool.
So real quick, so bring those back out. Those are absolutely enormous baits, right?
Yeah.
Majority of individuals are not throwing this. So one, I'm curious. Those look custom, right? So what does one of those lures cost, and what setup are you throwing that on?
Yeah, so these custom, all hand, literally custom, each individual one he does with wood. I think it goes for about $225.
Okay.
So
if you lose that one, you're gonna feel that pain.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. My current setup for this is, let me grab it. Let's see. I have a Dobbins DC 807 mag. So it's 3 to 10 ounce lure rating. Mag, heavy, fast action.
Yeah, I would imagine. And that thing is, how long is it? It's on the longer side, I would imagine.
Yeah. 8 feet.
Yeah.
Yep. 8 feet. And I pair it with a Shimano Tranx 300.
So when you're throwing that, my goodness, you're going big or going home, right? That's the idea here. When you
Yeah,
got that.
pretty much. Exactly. Yeah. I in the probably last year was when I really got into bigger top water baits, wake baits. Yeah, so I love all the things, the rats. I also love the PB rat. It's one of my favorites. I use it all the time.
That's custom as well.
Well, PB, no, it's one of they're sold and just about anywhere, but they are relatively expensive as well. But
give me a ballpark. What's that?
I think the 2 pieces like 135 maybe.
Okay.
It's been a minute.
Woo. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're fishing with just bigger than normal, the normal average bass fisherman is fishing with.
Yeah.
And these are where all your big bass have come from.
Yeah, a couple of them on that, and again, a couple of them on just a jig. I like the again, like I use just a ball. This is a football head, 3/8 ounce, and like a grub trailer for the summer. Want a lot of movement, going in pads. I love to fish them in pads and stuff. So those are what I've caught my big fish on, are those baits, really. Yeah.
Just between those 4, those are it. That's the juice.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Huh.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say this is another one that Chris made. It's just a 2-piece, Bruce, but this is like a perch pattern. But yeah, it's like I rotate all of them. It's like, once they get used to a sound, I switch to another one, try a different sound, that type of thing. So as soon as they stop hitting it, I'll move on to a new one and try it. And then, so I'll rotate through them.
How much time do you spend on one before? What is that time frame for you usually?
Half hour.
All right. So you throw
hour, maybe an hour, very rarely an hour. If after a half hour I haven't gotten a hit, I'm thinking it's not happening.
Yeah. Then you switch on over.
Yeah.
That is awesome. I've been following you ever since you joined the team, and I've seen that you've been using these, and I was like, oh man, I can't wait to talk about these. So for those of you on the podcast, it's really hard to explain what we're all looking at. So you have to come back if you really want to look at those or look them up. What's the website? Where did you get those from again?
It's MTL Baits. He has a Instagram account and also a Facebook account. I think he has a website, mtlbaits.com, but usually, you get a hold of him through Instagram or Facebook.
Right on. Now I was wondering if you did this full time, but you're out just like me, out there before work.
Yep.
You slide in a couple hours, and then on the weekends you do a little bit longer, maybe an evening here or there.
Exactly.
So it's not like you're doing this full time, right? I think sometimes people are like, oh, well, more time out in the water, obviously you increase your chances, but you are doing something that I've had a lot of people on the show. They're all using a lot of the baits that you can get, your chatter baits, and
yep.
Not too often do I have someone pick up what you just picked up. And you're like, okay, I love this. All right. Gramps has a question for you, Tammy, before we kind of go around the horn here.
Sure.
His question is, Daren, ask Tammy if she's fishing the Challenge Series Championship, because you're big in the tournaments, correct?
I am. I unfortunately won't be able to do that this year, or next year. I guess it's next year for this year. I would like to at some point, but there's only so many, because I do work. There's only so many days off I can take. So at this point, I sort of try to pick and choose what I want to focus on and what I can make and travel to. And unfortunately, a lot of these challenge series, it's tough to travel to Kentucky or, even Alabama, taking the time off. So I have to sort of pick and choose.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Tammy. We'll circle back here in a little bit. I'm going to go over to Jack. Jack, can you hear us?
I can hear you now, Daren.
All right. Well, welcome and congratulations on this past month's win, 103 inches.
Thank you.
Is kind of my goal this year. I had a goal I wanted to at least in every one of the months, at least hit 90 inches. And I was able to do that personally. So I'm pumped. But I was always just close to that 100-inch mark. And now after listening to Tammy, I know how to get there. But I would love to hear from you, because this isn't the first month you've been able to do that. So how have you been able to pattern, or what is maybe you feel like your unique advantage, or what you've been picking them up on? Tell us where you're from and then walk us through.
All right. I'm actually from Alabama, a small town called Elkmont. And 2 years ago, I started fishing in 2016. So every year after like 2020, I started picking up one technique. I was fishing jigs, I tried the wacky rig. I was doing my drop shots. And for the last 2 years, I've been working on my punching and flipping. So the last 2 years, I've been able to consistently go, 99 plus inches, punching into lilies and thick grass. Matter of fact, the last 2 months, all my fish that I've caught have been in a 50 yard area.
Wow.
Same area. One thing that helped me out, I don't know if you can see this here. Usually a flipping hook is designed like this, the round.
Yeah, explain it for those just listening in on the podcast. So walk us through what that looks like.
All right, so this flipping hook, it's a round bend. You tie it with a snell knot with a weight depending on what you're punching into the grass with. This year I went to a heavier. I pitched a 1 ounce tungsten weight, pegged it, and then started with this round hook, and I was losing fish. I mean, I'd have them on there and then they'd get off. I mean, because you're fighting them through the grass and through the lilies. So I switched over and never lost another fish off of this design.
So for those listening in, what are we looking at now?
We are looking at a togar from the round bend, like 6 cents makes. This is the round. I switched to this togar, which has this little extra togar pro. And for some reason, once that locks into their lip, no matter what they do, they're not getting off of it. I did figure out, I fished 4 areas down here into the lilies and the grass, and I found 2 colors that they like. So I'll share that with the team when we get together.
Oh, there we go. It's not going to let all the juice go.
No, those 2, but I fished D-bombs on these. That's the
okay.
I mean, I fished all kinds of other creature baits, but the D-bomb and these 2 particular colors, I mean, consistently. And I was talking, took me about 10 minutes to get in position in these places. 4th, 5th cast, I already had a 19 or 20 inch bass on. So wow. So has this been the first year where you kind of patterned in those where they're at? Last year, I think I began to lock in on it. Of course, I fished a challenge series, and I was able to go to the national championships last year, and same this year. But this year, I definitely concentrated and dialed in. I found a spot where the creek actually split and went around the lilies and the grass, and it was just like this island of bank out there.
Okay.
And, I mean, fish love the current. Early morning, they'd be right up close to the creek. And then as it got hotter, they moved back underneath the heavy grass and the lilies. I mean, the biggest fish I've caught, the temperature was 140 degrees straight.
Whoa.
Yeah. Last cast of the day.
Gotta love those last cast.
Last cast. That was it. I'm headed to the house, flipped it into the lily, and it just took off. So
how deep are you in the lilies? Are you positioned in the lilies? Like you're deep in there, or you just you flipping like a foot into the edge? What are you doing there?
Yeah. So I set myself up about 5 feet off the lily line. I work my way in as I paddle up. I start casting to the edge, and then I'll flip. I flipped so far back into the lilies and caught bass that it was like going through a jungle when I was pulling.
Wow.
I use a loose, heavy 7'3" rod, and I paired it with an Abu Garcia Pro 7-1, and then 50-pound braid.
I would imagine it's somewhere. What was the longest length on your bass this year?
This year, 22 and a half.
All right. That was just the past. I was looking at your numbers. That was your last in August when you won 22 and a half.
Yeah.
Wow.
I caught a 21 and a half, moved 10 feet and caught the 22 and a half.
Oh my gosh. And those mornings are what we all dream of.
Oh, it was a good morning.
Wow. Well, we'll circle back to you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I just want to stop for a second. I saw the chicken home gym. My man, thank you so much. Put in a donation there. So thank you so much. He said I just caught a really nice pickerel and he flipped out of my hands before I got the picture. So he's out fishing just like Jake is. But he looks like he's putting his kayak. There he is. He's putting his kayak away. So I'm going to give him a moment. We'll circle back to you, Jake, after I talk to Greg. But Greg, welcome to the show, brother. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. For those of you who don't know, I've known Greg for a while now, and you might actually know of Greg, or at least what he does, because he is the owner of 3dyak.com. And you might have a seat riser or some type of 3D printed accessory, and this is a man who does that. And he lives down around the Wheeler, Gunnersville area, I think. So, Greg, where are you from? And yeah, tell us a little bit more about 3D-Yak. That's kind of interesting.
Well, 3D-Yak started basically a few years ago when a guy that needed some seat risers for a native propelled 13 asked me if I could make them. And I found a design online and I downloaded it and printed it for him. And neither one of us was really happy with it. So I started looking into CAD and playing around with it and figured out how to make a design that was a little bit more secure, a little bit more stable. And some friends of his saw those and wanted some, and other people saw them, and it kind of exploded. So, that's been 5 or 6 years now. We started an official website this year, and it's been going strong. So,
by exploded, what do you mean? Give us some.
I mean, like it was like 3 3D printers. I was making like a set of risers a week.
Okay.
And now I'm making on average 3 to 4 a day, 3 to 4 sets of risers, plus rod stagers, plus weed guards, plus organizers, and whatever else I can come up with. A bunch of prototypes out there right now. So it's getting serious.
How many 3D printers do you have? Are they running in the background? I think I slightly hear something really light.
I've got 2 running right now. So I'm actually phasing out the old models for a newer model that is extremely fast, extremely precise. And I've only got 3 of the new models. Before that, I was up to 20 of the old ones. But these 3 are so reliable and so fast that I actually think I might need to get 2 more, and that'll be equivalent to the 20 that I had.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So it's changing. Wow. Technology is changing quick.
Yeah, that stuff's crazy. Like I just walked into my local thrift shop and there's like 5 3D printers new in box. I was like, those are there for a reason.
Yep.
So, yeah. Well, congratulations on the business kind of side hustle kind of blowing up, which is fun. But so is it what else? So you make rod stagers, you got organizers, 3D printed seat risers. Are you able to share kind of what you have prototyping right now?
So it's really simple. It's nothing like secret or whatever. It's basically like a rod stager that goes in the tank well. In particular, this one's designed for a native Titan, and it's just it's a low profile rod stager that stays out of the way of the crate and everything, and allows you to stick your rod into it when you're standing up fishing, so you don't have to sit down or turn around and reach for the crate that's way behind you. It's a lot closer. And then basically took that and modified it into, on the old towns and natives, they have a stager that's right beside the cockpit that you can set the rod in when you catch a fish. Mm-hmm. So I made a little version of that for all the kayaks that don't have them. Just mounts into the track, and it's just a little ring that sticks out that you can slide your rods in. And, we've got a few requests for some things that I don't want to share yet because they may fail miserably. That's why we send a few out to get tested, because it may sound good on paper, but real world may be different.
Yeah, I find that fascinating. The whole 3D printed world, kind of these products that don't get mass produced, but you could whip up literally with a CAD and a printing machine in like a few hours. How long does it take? I was blown away with this. I know the answer, but for those of you out there, say I wanted 3D printed seat risers for my Bonafide P127, right? So it's literally just a rectangular block.
Yeah.
How long does it take to print something like that?
I mean, I've got the front one, right
there it
here.
is.
That right there takes about 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And so multiply that by 2 for the front 2, and then the rear are about 3 times as long. So those are each about 6 hours. So you're looking at 6, 6, 2, 2. So you're looking at 16 hours of printing.
Wow. All right. So you were really limited as far as, unless you buy more and more printers.
Yep.
And then you got to like
that was
start it
my
up.
solution, was to buy a bunch of cheap printers,
Right. Huh. Fascinating. So if you're interested, anything kayak fishing 3D printed, go check out a site, 3dyak.com. Let's switch over from that. So we were talking early on, and where do you live right now?
So I'm in Summerville, Alabama, which is actually right between Decatur and Huntsville. So very close to Jack, close to Chad Hoover, right 5 minutes away from Wheeler. I've been.
So you fish Wheeler a lot.
Oh yeah.
So you were like my secret weapon. I was really secretly hoping that you could be on our team, because I needed someone who lived down there, who kind of knew the waters, knew where the bass are pattern, are going to pattern up during that November weekend. And now we have 2 of you, which I'm pumped. Jack, do you fish Gunnersville or Wheeler at all?
I fish Gunnersville, Wheeler, Pickwick. I fish all 3 of them. I drive an hour to Gunnersville, and Wheeler's probably about 40 minutes where I put in at.
All right. I don't know about you, Tammy, but that makes me really happy to know that we got a couple hammers who live near, or essentially Greg, on the water. Jake, how you doing, brother?
Pretty good. I'm almost done here.
Oh, you're all good. We'll circle back with you in here in like just a few minutes. But so Greg, let us know what was that month for you when you won? What are some of the things you feel like you would attribute that to?
Pretty much. I waited for it to get hot, and that concentrated the fish around some cool water springs. We've got a few of those around here. And when that happened, usually there was matted out grass around those lily pads. And you just find where the water transitioned from bathwater hot to cold and throw a frog. I mean, that's a spro frog. I threw a live target a little bit, threw the top toad a little bit, and buzz bait anywhere in between that I could, any open water, but pretty much a hollow body was what I did most of my damage with this year.
Nice. And that was all 5 of your top 5 fish was on the frog.
Yep.
And what month was that?
I think that was June. Pretty sure.
Okay. Yeah. I actually have some of the stuff written out. Just so you guys know, August, Jack had 103.75. July, Jake came in 90.75 inches between 5 fish. June was Greg, 101.25. And then May was Tammy with 98.25. So just a little, and they've been bouncing around that ever since, which is pretty neat. So waited till it get hot. You knew where the cold springs were. That's awesome. Is that kind of your go-to during December, or do you
It is. Yeah, they get stacked up in very small areas because the grass gets really thick and it kind of chokes out a lot of the places so that they're not able to ambush. And also fished at night. You may have noticed that frog was black, and that's pretty much all I throw is a black frog. I'll throw white, in May when they're feeding on spawning shad or whatever, if I'm around the edges. But for the most part, I'm going to be fishing right after sunset, right before sunrise with a black frog. and it's just those open areas, and they're just waiting for something to move across it and ambush it.
Wow. So when you go night fishing like into the night, or are you just talking about like twilight hours?
I mean, I've been out there several times past midnight.
All right. Nice.
As a matter of fact, the biggest fish that I've caught so far, which was last year, it was in March. I caught it 11:59 on a black and blue jig.
Wow.
So
and what was it? What was the size and weight on that bad boy?
That was 25 inches, and I have no
Dang.
idea of the weight.
I would like dream of a 25-inch bass.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't think they grow that big up here in Ohio. Man. Well, awesome. So do you do any type of, and you kind of shared a little bit, but any type of pre-fishing strategy, like if you go to a new lake? So I would imagine, being that Wheeler's 5 minutes away. One, how big is Wheeler? How many acres is that lake?
It is giant. I mean,
it's even smaller than Gunnersville, correct?
Not the way it fishes, right?
Oh, okay. Keep talking.
Because it's going to take you, I'm trying to think, from Wheeler Dam all the way to Gunnersville Dam, you're probably driving, there's not a straight shot. So you're probably driving an hour and a half to get from one end to the other.
Kidding me.
And because it's stretched out, like 50% of it is very narrow and very long, and 50% of it's more lake-like. So you've got any kind of fishing you want to fish. If you want to fish the river, if you want to fish backwaters, you want to fish creeks, swamps, dewatering areas. I mean, there's all of it on Wheeler.
So how do you choose? Right? We're gonna have all these individuals, all these teams coming down, and you got two ginormous lakes that take you an hour and a half to drive it from one end to the other. I mean, how would someone coming from out of state who didn't have two hammers on their team, who lived nearby and could have understood the lake a bit, how would they pick apart something that large?
I mean, to be honest, if I was coming out of state and didn't know anything about the two lakes, I would pick Gunnersville and I'd pick a bridge. That's what I would do. In November, you're going to have transition fish. You know, they've been schooling in the back of the pockets and they're heading back out to deep water, or in some variation of that. The bridges are choke points. You can watch Bassmaster, FLW, etc. And many of those tournaments have been won on a bridge doing exactly that. In March, they're usually camping a bridge. The only problem with that is you and 200 bass boats know the same thing. So that's the struggle with Gunnersville, right? And Wheeler, I fished a spot this morning and yesterday, both. Caught schooling spotted bass for about 3 hours yesterday and 2 hours today. I didn't see another boat, right?
Really?
So, I mean, that's the advantage of Wheeler. But like you mentioned, it's so spread out. You got to know the sweet spots, and that just takes time and practice.
So would you say that in November on Veterans Day weekend, it'll be just like that on around the bridge? You'll be battling it out with other boats and other kayakers
on
those choke points? Yeah,
definitely.
You and Jack are both. You're like nodding in agreement here, which kind of blows my mind, right? Because I'm up here, I don't have lakes like that big. I mean, I have Lake Erie, right? But I don't have a bass fishing like that large around me that I fish. And so the idea of being like that tight with so many other boats around me like stresses me out. It's just not how I fish. I have enough smaller 1,500, 2,500 acre lakes around me where I don't have to come in contact with another bass angler, which is kind of nice. But coming to a different part of the country with different game, different rules is one of those, because we can, for the Knucklehead, we can fish either one, right? You can choose Wheeler or you can choose like Gunnersville. Is one known for, I don't know, more fish, bigger fish? Is there
Gunnersville?
Yeah.
All day, every day it's the lake that you can go to and have a good chance at catching a 10-pounder. You catch a 10-pounder on Wheeler, and it's going to go in the newspaper probably.
Really?
Yeah.
Wheeler has the angry fish out there.
Say that again, Jack.
Wheeler has angry fish. They out there.
Interesting. So fascinating. I got a question here from Gramps. Are there still a ton of boats on the water in November?
Gunnersville.
Yeah.
I don't care what day. I don't care what time of year. I don't care what the weather is. It's ridiculous.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. All right. Well, there you have it. It's going to be interesting, folks. Well, Greg, thank you. We'll circle back around. Jake, sounds like you got your Hobie, your new Hobie, by the way, all wrapped up, bundled in the trailer, and now you're back in your truck. How you doing, brother?
Pretty good. What's going on, guys?
I'm a little jealous because like an hour ago, I'm getting text messages and from Jake, and he's like, "Oh, here's a 17, here's an 18, here's another 18, here's a 19, and here's a couple other 16s that I didn't even take a picture of." You were slaying them tonight.
Yeah, when you're on them, you're on them.
You're on them, and now unfortunately you live like 2 hours away from me. I would have been joining you. We'll just do the show from both of our kayaks, but.
Yep.
Tell me where have you felt like, well, tell everybody where you fish, not like where you fish, but kind of part of the country you primarily fish, because you didn't always live where you live now. And you've come a long way. I give you like rookie of the year for the team, because we were hanging out at the beginning of the year and now you're on the team and kind of toward the end of the season. And I've been just impressed by the work you put in and the results that you're getting. Would love to hear kind of what that journey's been like for you.
So my journey's kind of just started this year, the beginning of this year. Basically, right around the time I first reached out to you is when I got my first kayak. It's a Wilderness Systems 135 with the Helix pedal drive. Got a really good deal on it, used on the Facebook Marketplace.
Your favorite?
I thought to look on Marketplace because of your videos, So I kind of got into kayak fishing and fishing in general from you and some other YouTubers out there. Reached out. I think we went, where did we go? We went to the strip mines in Ohio.
Yep.
Had a blast. Like after that, I was hooked. And I live all the way up by Lake Erie in like 30 minutes west of Cleveland. And I didn't think there was any bass fishing around here until you hooked me onto them. And then ever since then, I've just been, watching every YouTube video I can, and watching every, review about every single kayak there is. It was a dream of mine to get a Hobie after that, and now I'm here, and I think I'm doing pretty dang good for my first year, bass fishing ever. I grew up in South Florida, and when I was a kid, I bass fished all the time, but we'd use worms or minnows, and it was right. Just easy to dip it in and boop, you gotta, you gotta fish. So up here, I had to work for it. I had to try it, and a lot of trial and error, a lot of hours on the water, and I'm here.
Yeah, well, you just didn't get a Hobie, bro. You went from whatever it is that you had that you didn't like. You almost gave up.
I did.
I got a few text messages. This is just a few months ago. You're like, man, I think I'm gonna go over to the bass boat world, and I threatened you left, right, up and down, and then I get this text one day. It's like, dude, I found this Hobie down in who knows where, like 10 hours away. And I'll let you finish the story there. How'd that all play out?
Yeah. So my kayak that I got, it was a great beginner kayak. The radar system, or the Wilderness Systems Radar 135. It was a great kayak. But I would text you all the time, hey, this broke. Hey, my prop fell off. Hey, I just flipped my kayak. And, I was having a rough go, if you would say so. I had a 4-wheeler sitting in my garage that I love my 4-wheeler, but I just never rode it. I found something new, and scrolling through Facebook, one of the groups one day, and what do you know? It was a 2021 Hobie, PA14, all the fixings on it, the XI3 pinpoint trolling motor. It came with Lowrance HDS9 live active target, had everything. It was a $12,000 setup with the trailer and everything. It was probably, I think, 4.5 hours away from me to drive, and he was looking for a 4-wheeler to trade. And So I messaged him, not thinking anything of it. I didn't think he was looking for what I had, and he said, I think I'm gonna pull the trigger. Let's do it. So
Whoa.
I hopped in the truck one day after work.
He
And
tried to get me to go with you.
yeah. Hey, I need you to come look at this room with me. Body center, come on. And so I went down there. Everything checked out. This thing has been boat loaded or trailer loaded, wet launch loaded only its entire life. Not a speck of curb rash on the bottom. I mean, this thing is in perfect condition. Everything checks out, and so I come home with the Hobie.
Wow. Well,
Yep.
Congratulations. That's a sick
Thanks.
ride. So walk us through what have you been catching them on? Like, what were you fishing with tonight? Right? 18, 19, 17, 17.
Do you have the text I showed you? Because I don't have it. It's on the boat. Maybe just hold it up. It's a peanut butter and jelly. I think it's a 3/8 ounce.
Oh yeah.
There
it is, folks. You can explain it.
Yep. I don't know who makes it, to be honest with you, but it's a 3/8 ounce peanut butter and jelly, rocker style, or not rocker style, but I can't think of the word. It's not a swim jig and it's not a football. Somebody could help me here. My mind is another place. So, but it's got the D-bomb, which I think Jack was explaining that, right? Yeah. It's got the D-bomb. It's the PB&J D-bomb color to match the skirt and everything, and it's been killing them. I found a honey hole about 30 minutes away from me, and it's a very small lake, but it's a man-made lake. I think it's more like a pond, but in the center, it's got like just stumps as far as you can see. It's about 5 foot in most places, and there's just stumps and logs floating around. So every day it's something different. So a log will float to another side depending on the wind, and so like every time I go out there, it's something different, and I'm just hitting every single log, every single piece of cover that I get back there, and it's that's what I've been. The majority of my fish on the Knucklehead tournaments have come out of that lake, and it's an average 17-incher every single time. It's at least an average, yeah. So I think the smallest one I caught today was 16, and I caught 8, something like that.
Wow.
I got out here at 5 o'clock. So I love it.
That's a sick night. Heck yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good. One of my best nights, I think. And I think I pulled 2 19s, and 18 and 17, and a couple 16s. So,
no. So if you're listening in, there's a theme here, right? So jigs, big bass, jigs, big bass. I heard D-bomb now a couple times. Peanut butter and jelly. That's what I use. I've caught my biggest bass this year on a peanut butter and jelly 3/8 ounce jig.
I got a lot on a big 10-inch worm. I got a lot of luck on Texas rig, just the D-bomb with a little 3/8 ounce free weight on it.
Yeah.
I been practicing my drop shotting and stuff like that with my active target. There's a bigger, deeper reservoir that we go to. I mean, right now fish are deep in grass, 12, 13 foot around here anyway, and pretty much on cover or in the shade.
Yeah. No, I always love whenever you send me photos, because Jake and I are buddies, and we know each other's honey holes, and we keep them sacred. And I'm like, hey, what'd you catch them on? And so like the next day I go out and I send him a photo of the thing that he told me what lure to throw. Gotta have friends. No point. So,
right.
So real quick, share your story, and then and Jack, really quick, you're the one who said you also fished the D-bomb, correct? Trailer.
Yes.
Well, you weren't going to share the color, so we'll keep that. We'll keep that. I remember now. So let's keep that a little secret here. But Jake, tell me, you're at your honey hole, and you got pretty good balance. You're a young guy, right?
Yeah.
You weren't in your Hobie, and apparently you thought you were invincible. So share the story here. What happened? What lessons were learned?
It was like 55-degree water, I think. I was out fishing. I was actually at another pond, which is just north of my honey hole here, and really dirty water. There's a log that kind of stuck up out of the water like this. The water level is kind of down here. You can see, sorry, the shadow. But the log was sticking up out of the water like that. And I threw something, I forget. It's probably a square bill or something I was fishing at the time. I got caught in the log. It was sticking up out. And I'd say it was about waist height from the water level. So I paddled over to it, stood up, grabbed hold of the thing because I was on the other side of it to pull myself around the other side of the log. And the thing just broke right in half. It was a dry rotted piece of wood, broke right in half, fell on top of me. I went in, I think my hip caught the strap of my seat, ripped the strap of my seat, and just turned the entire kayak over. It was like 7 or 8 foot of water. I think it's 7 foot of water. But it was so cold, I couldn't breathe. I swam around. I was in shock. I was able to, I never practiced deep water reentry, which I know I should have done before I went out, but it was wintertime, or it was, spring. And so I never really got the chance to do that. And I somehow miraculously, I was able to grab hold of the drive that was sticking up out of the water and then use that as leverage to turn it over, climb back in my kayak. And I knew I wasn't going back in that day to get my stuff, but I waited, I think, a week. Everything sat in the bottom. I was able to recover all my rods, thankfully, because most of them floated. But I think I waited a week and it got substantially warmer. I went back out with some swim trunks and a pair of goggles. And I just started doing I would dive straight down with my feet, feel around. Oh, found something, reach down, grab it, pull it up. Because I couldn't see the bottom. It was dark. And I got every single thing besides my prescription eyeglasses that I was wearing. And yeah. So just
sounds like you got a couple lessons learned there. One was tether your crap. That's one, it sounds like.
I was expecting, I didn't have a towel with me. I mean, I don't think anybody really carries one. I carry one now in my black bag. Just an extra, I also have like a jacket in there too, just in case I do go over and maybe it's windy, maybe it's super hot outside, but it's like windy or something, and you can get cold if you take an unexpected swim. And I bring all that stuff now. I'm pretty safe about everything now. I tethered everything. So
all right. Well, Tammy, I'm going to circle back to you. So let's kind of get tactical right now, right? So if you were to head out to the water tomorrow, now you shared the baits that you're throwing now. Do you throw those into the next few months, or did you do some type of transition from your baits kind of in this fall transition that we're kind of in? New Hampshire is a bit different than Greg. And so what's going on in your brain right now when it comes to fishing, as far as how you're approaching the types of bodies of water that you're fishing?
It honestly doesn't change too much.
Okay.
So I enjoy fishing early mornings and early evening or evening, later into the evening, into the night. Cause most of the time the boat traffic, things like that are kind of dying down. People are leaving. So I'm coming on. And I just find that, those are the best times for the big top waters. It seems like, as it's cooling down a little bit, the fish are coming out to feed, things like that. So, and it seems like, and I seem to have that luck most of the year, most of the season, all through the summer. And it gets even better into the fall once the water temps really cool down. But and now the grass is starting to die away, the lily pads. So they're moving off of that stuff and going a little bit deeper, or going, they're heading into some cover somewhere. So I'm usually hitting more docks as well. Like if it slows down with the top water, I'll hit docks. If I can find anything, trees or any sort of cover down deeper a little bit, I'll hit those. So it does change a little bit as the water is cooling down, but for the most part, not too much.
All right. So when you're throwing these top waters, are you like calling them up from the deep, like 10 feet down, or are you throwing it shallower than that?
Yeah, I'm throwing it pretty shallow. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sticking to anywhere between like 3 to probably 7 or 8 feet.
Okay.
I seem to have the better luck at the lower, like the 3 feet, the shallower, I seem to have better luck.
Huh. I feel like all my 3 feet still choked with dying weeds at the moment, but it's slowly
Yeah.
going away.
Yep. Yep. Well, there's a few different lakes that I hit where it's just there's some, it's almost like riprap rock, like, not a deep ledge, but a little bit of a ledge off. So
Yeah.
it's not a lot of grass and stuff there, but there are some areas that do have that grass growing a little bit, maybe in 5 to 10 feet, where you just hit over the top of that, and that works well. That'll find them too. Pull them out of the grass in that depth of water.
So I'm curious. So there's top waters, then there's what you have, which are pretty large, like wake bait type deals.
Yep.
Was there a graduation bait that got you from like the normal, what you typically would buy, to kind of what you're using now? Or did you just like, hey, I got this friend at MTN and he sent me some, and you tried them out and you just fell in love with them?
No, I think I did have a transition. I think the bigger baits at first, I was like that. I mean, I think, when I do show them to some people, they're like, I can't believe a fish hits that thing. It's so big.
Right.
And it's like, I had that same belief. And so I had smaller baits. Maybe the Spro BBZ Rat, the smaller one. I had a couple of maybe the Jackal Pompadour a little bit. That's, also that crawler type thing. So little things that were a little bit, smaller, but a little bit bigger. And then, Chris started making these, and I, again, I was like, I don't know. And I just kind of jumped into it, started throwing them. And I mean, it's amazing. You'll have a 14-inch fish hit these things. It's crazy. It's like, very ambitious little fish, that they're just the size of the bait. But yeah, I mean, anything hits it. I haven't found anything that, that's too big that they won't hit.
Wow. That's just crazy to me. Yeah. I brought out like my 8-inch Magdrass before, and it gets hit. Now, anytime you get a hit on like a big bait, you're thinking, oh yeah, this is going to be awesome. Like, what in the world? The little dink just came up and smashed this. It's about the same size.
Yep.
And it always kind of blows my mind.
Yep.
And I always wonder, like, okay, how large of a bait can I use when they'll still smash it? And you've answered that question for me tonight. So that is awesome. Guys, if you had a question for anybody, if you're listening in, if you got a question for any of the anglers, I will go ahead and ask that. So go ahead and throw that in there. But I'm going to go back down here to Jack. Jack, same question. As far as right now, right? Not giving away the juice for coming up here in November, but what's your fishing look like right now? Are you doing any type of transitions with your baits? I know that some people, I just had someone on a couple of weeks ago. They're like, hey, I take all the rattle out of my bait and I just go to straight thump. And so it's interesting. People have their own ways of doing things. Do you have any type of secret sauce or something that you like doing that you feel like elicits more bites?
Well, water temperature on Gunnersville is still 82 degrees. So I was just out fishing yesterday. So I went back to the same area, and it seemed to be the top toad that they were hitting. A lot of blow ups on it. I really didn't connect. So I moved off towards this little bridge, and it supports, was throwing a 4.8-inch Tennessee shad paddle tail kite tap.
Okay. Yeah.
Through it. It was 7 to 10 feet. I let it hit the bottom, 3/4 or a 1/4 ounce weight. Let it hit the bottom, pulled it back up, and as soon as it came up off the ground, 16 3/4, 2 of them right in a row in the same area.
Wow.
So, yeah. So usually I transition, start working my frogs, and then going, like Greg had talked about, towards the supports on those bridge area.
So when the temperature starts dropping, right? So it's low 80s right now. So what happens when it goes to like 70s? You change it up, or when you go to 60s? And what happens in your mind whenever I start sharing those temperatures?
I like going to a spinnerbait. I have a once it drops down 70, 75 degrees, I'm usually throwing a spinnerbait. That's usually one of my favorite ones, and I get a real good hookup on spinnerbaits. And I still throw the Kayak paddle tails. They seem to love to eat those, especially when they're feeding up. And then the like I said, the top toads, and then I throw a black Spro hollow body, and it's a black top toads also. That seems to be the thing.
All right. It's so fascinating when you go to like find frogs and toads. They usually have white bellies. You got to try really hard to go find like a special order, kind of black bellied toads and frogs. I don't see them anywhere, at least where I'm at. Maybe you got when you guys go buy your lures and stuff. Now, granted, if you go online, you can find them pretty easily, but I don't go into stores very often to see those. In fact, I got like 15 frogs. I don't think any of them have dark color. They're all white. So fascinating. Greg, what do you got for us, my friend? What's going through your mind when you head out? And one, we haven't talked about this. We'll talk about that in a second. So what's going in your mind? How are you patterning your pattern? Oh, there it is.
That's all I do. Like I
That's
throw
it.
that until it gets 60 degrees.
So you only have like one rod.
Yeah.
When you go out.
That's all I need. All right.
So there it is. There's the trick, folks. Just fish the one thing, your confidence lure.
There are some highland lakes around here, sure enough, to the south of us that I kind of wish the championship was on. That you throw a spook on points, especially windblown points, and you'll catch them. I might mix in a whopper plopper occasionally, but a spook is going to carry you well into the fall. Like I don't know if I'll be throwing them in November. Depends on the temperature and what I've seen the week before, but it's possible.
Right. Fascinating. I love it. I love how simplistic and you're able to get on them. Do you attribute that to just you knowing your body of water and how to pattern those bass throughout the year?
Maybe I'm just stubborn. If it's not top water, I don't want to throw it. So I don't give them an opportunity to eat anything else. I will mix in an A-rig, right? Like, if it's not allowed in bass tournaments in FLW and BASS for a reason.
Yeah.
Because it works. So if I'm catching them on a spook and they're schooling, I'll mix in the A-rig and usually pull out some bigger fish with that than I will get just on top water. If I'm around grass, I'm still throwing the frog. And then, like Sarah mentioned, right, the spinner bait, that's a good transition bait. I mean, I've got all these baits in my arsenal. I just usually start and end with the top waters because that's what I want to catch them on.
Yeah. Hey, you like what you like, and it sounds like you've had a lot of success with it. So tip my hat to you there. Jake, any thoughts on this question? We're going to do one more round, and I'm curious on everyone's kind of kayak that they have. Then we'll finish this up. Any thoughts on our discussion?
Yeah. I think the reason why I'm like, I've come so far is because like, I'm kind of like a kitchen sink kind of guy. I throw everything until if I go to a new place to fish, I throw everything until I kind of start to get that pattern right. I'll start off most likely with like if it's wind blown or something, I start off with a chatterbait, spinner bait sometimes. If I don't get anything, any hits on that, even if it's like early morning or so, I'll start moving to like more finesse style fishing. Our lakes around here, they're so it's hard to find a lake without grass pretty much covering the entire lake, right? So grass, I'm sure, is great for guys down south, but up here, it's hard to pinpoint where the fish are at because grass is covering the entire lake. So it all depends, and it's hard to find, structure as well with your finders and stuff, with all the grass. So I'm slowly learning, but I'm just a kitchen sink kind of guy. I'll throw anything until I start getting a bite. Once I start reading that pattern, I'll start honing in on, bigger, smaller, different colors, and that type of thing. Yeah.
Do you fish non-natural colors?
No.
No?
The furthest I'll go from a natural color is like a plum apple, big 10-inch worm. But even that's still kind of natural. at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like I think it's called green pumpkin plum or something. Zoom makes the old monster, or green pumpkin apple. I don't know, something like that. But it's awesome.
Yeah.
That's the furthest I'll go because we fish a lot of clear water up here too. So
yeah. No, I hear you. No, I was thinking, what I was going to share tonight. So I was thinking, what is it? I feel like I've come a long way, especially this past year. I mean, I'm trying to think of what is the one thing that I contribute the most to, right? Where did I gain the most yardage in my fishing game? And two things came to mind. And it wasn't until I didn't start growing significantly until I started teaching it, right, on my YouTube channel. Because when you start teaching something, especially on YouTube, if you don't have your information right, people are going to let you know about it, right? So it forces you to do just like copious research, dial in, add your flair to it and kind of your take on it. And you start picking apart fishing piece by piece. And there's so many. I mean, I have a queue of hundreds of videos ideas that I have not even done yet, right? I have the ideas for them. I know I want to do it and the things that I'm interested in, but I really started to see a lot of gains when I started teaching it. So if you always wanted to be that content creator, you also want to be a better angler. That happened for me whenever I created a YouTube channel and started teaching parts of it little by little. I always share with people, I don't really yes, I'm a content creator, but really what I've done is just documented my journey and people like hop on along the way, which have been like a ton of fun. The other thing, and Tammy, you nailed this whenever you shared kind of your story. I started getting larger fish, bigger numbers on the tournament boards in the 90s, upper 97, mostly because I was putting in the extra time on the water, right? I'm not full time. I got a 9 to 5 job. I'm essentially like a sales division of my nonprofit that I work for. And so I'm traveling like 1 week a month. But I was like, "You're right. This year I'm going to put in more time. How am I going to get that time, right? Because I got a family. I got 2 kids. They're young, 7 and 5 years old. I want to prioritize them. And the only way for me to do that is to get up before work and get out there and get on the water. So I was like, all right, I'm going to commit to it. And I can't really do it anymore, like back to back mornings, but during because I just get worn out. But every other day, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm setting the alarm sometimes 4:45 a.m., 5 a.m., and you get out there and you fish a couple hours, 2.5 hours, enough time for you to get home. And I work from home, which is nice. I don't have to go to another place. And man, I can't tell you, I've caught the majority, of course, of those fish in the morning, in the twilight hours. The big ones bite. The big ones are biting the jigs. You're able to pattern them a whole lot better when you're doing it every other day. You can start timing, like it's going to rain on this day, or that storm front's coming through. It's going to be a good morning. And you start learning so much quicker, of course, right? So I went from like a weekend warrior to going out like 4 times a week. And because of that, man, I can't tell you how fast that has accelerated my personal growth. So pretty awesome. Daniel has a comment over here. Daren, got my Garmin Echo map today. Awesome. Been watching your installation video. Sick. Can't wait to try it out this weekend. My man. Hopefully that installation goes well for you. It did for me. And I look forward to doing some fish finder videos coming up in the future. Yeah, JT Gramps says, hey, jealous of those him fish more than the weekends. He lives like in the part of Indiana where you just can't like hop on a lake or really it's like an hour drive in any direction. We've had this conversation for him. I love sending him photos in the morning of me catching bass when I know that he just simply can't. Even if he wanted to, couldn't get out and do it before work. I love Gramps. We got to have him back on the show here soon. All right, one last final round of questions. Kind of make this one quick, but I'm curious about your rigs, right? You shared a little bit, Jake, about your rigs. This is Kayak Fishing Obsessed. Let's talk about some fishing kayaks. So, Tammy, what are you running right now? Just a quick overview. What do you love about it? Did you just get into it? Are you planning on upgrading here soon? What do you got for us?
So I'm currently in an NuCanoe Unlimited. And I just upgraded to that this year. So I was in a native Titan 10.5, but it is cumbersome. It weighs a lot. I just started to I just looking for something a little bit more manageable for myself. So a couple of my friends and guys that I fish with are into the new canoe, and they recommended it. And I jumped into it. It's much lighter. It's still good size, but it's lighter, and you can basically customize it any way you want. I mean, it just comes basically nothing with a seat and a bunch of tracks. So I have customized it pretty heavily. And I love it. I love it.
You put a motor on it?
I do.
Paddle around.
No, I have a motor on it. I have the XI3 GPS lock on it, and a couple of screens, couple HDS 9s, live target, Lowrance. Live target I just got this year, so I'm still learning how to read and see what I'm seeing and understand it.
Do you like it?
What the
live target?
It's interesting to say I don't know. Like I said, I'm still learning it, but after a while I kind of find myself not paying attention to it much anymore. And then I just kind of start fishing around. Because like I said, I don't know what this is. I don't know what's happening. I don't know the settings. So I'm still I'll spend time doing that, trying to lock in, understand the settings, what I'm seeing, what I'm looking at, throwing lures down, seeing, comparing the size of fish to things. But, for the most part, some of the lakes I fish aren't very, they're again, small lakes and ponds, maybe max 30 feet deep and 15 feet. So I don't really take this out, that whole setup out that much.
Right.
So it's but I'm getting used to it, but I definitely love, this kayak. It's, so stable. And like I said, it's lighter, but with everything I've put on it, it's probably heavier, but, it's still manageable for me to get in the back of the truck and go. So.
Yeah. So it's like the fan favorite for fishing kayaks with some of the best stability, fan favorite wise. So you would attest to that?
Yeah, I definitely would. I think it's 41-inch width in the middle. It's I actually just was at a tournament last month at oh my God, now the name of the lake is totally escaping me. Oh my God, I can't think of it. Anyways, it was, I'd looked at the weather and it was supposed to be high winds in the afternoon, like 20 to 30 mile an hour winds, with, chance of rain, but it wasn't until like afternoon. So I'm like, I'll go hit, pre-fish in the morning. Did that, a little bit of pre-fishing, probably around 11. Everything rolled in like way earlier than what was expected. And I was in like 3-foot waves. It was,
whoa.
It was literally one of the scariest times of my life. I was like, oh, this is not fun. I am really like freaking out here. But I mean, never once did that kayak like make me feel like it was going to go over at all. It was just a scary situation, but it held up so well. I'm like, I can attest to everything everybody's ever told me about the stability of it after dealing with that situation.
All right. Are you looking for, I've heard it over and over again. So that is good to hear that you're in one and it's working out for you and it can handle some dicey situations.
Yep.
Sometimes they sneak up on you.
They do. That one definitely did. Because I'm one to watch for that type of stuff, weather patterns, wind, especially high wind, things like that. So I'm like, oh, it's not coming till afternoon, but it sure snuck up fast. And it was a little unnerving.
Yeah. Right on. Jack, what rig do you run?
I have 2 rigs. When I get out on the lakes in the larger area, I use a Jackson big rig. I've been in it quite a bit this year. I haven't been able to get on the creeks. When I get on the creeks, I have a Coosa HD by Jackson.
Okay.
I put 'em
Both
for
fairly
keep on.
wide kayaks, right?
Yeah, my big rig's about 36 inches wide. So one thing that I've started doing this year a lot more, which has been helping on my hook sets, is standing. So the big rig's pretty stable for me.
Yeah.
Any problem? Yeah.
Yeah, for those of you listening to the podcast and you're unfamiliar with like the averages, typical average width of a fishing kayak is between 32 and 36 inches. So when you heard Tammy, it's like, hey, 41-inch wide fishing kayak, that's on the high end for width. So just keep that in mind if you're out there looking for a stable kayak. That usually is one indicator, not the only indicator. There's a lot of variables involved in stability. Man, I've done videos on it, and there's lots and lots to take into consideration, including how good your balance is. And so kind of the X factor in the midst of it all. But Jack, thanks for sharing your rig. Greg, what rig or rigs do you roll with?
Well, I recently got rid of my PDL 10 Old Town.
Okay.
And so I'm rocking the same boat I've had since 2016, which is the Native Ultimate 12.
Oh, all right.
And
Why'd you get rid of the OT?
It's heavy. I mean, it's not really. It's not bad. But I'm a throw and go guy. Like a lot of the places I'm going in, I'm pushing over beaver dams. I'm going through creeks that you have to wade through. I'm pulling up shoals. Like some of the places I put in, even a 80, 90 pound kayak, you're not dragging them up the banks and stuff like I'm doing. So my 50-pound Ultimate, it goes everywhere. It does everything. No electronics, no motor, no nothing. Just me and two rods.
You're like a purist.
Yeah,
Fishing purist, folks. It's not many of them out there. So everyone take a good look at this one. There's a few other purists. I got some people on the show who are like, hey, even like using a net is cheating in their mind. So, hey, you know what? Fish how you like to fish, as they say on the Appalachian Trail. Hike your own hike. And so, hey, if you like fishing with one rod and 50-pound kayak, and that's what gets it done, obviously it's working for you. So pretty awesome. And Jake, you already shared your rig, but why do you still have your other rig? Are you trying to get rid of that? Did you like that? Did you like that one?
It was my first kayak. It's a 14-foot kayak, the Radar 135. Well, it's like 13 and a half inches, 13 feet and 1/2 foot.
There you go. That's he's tiny boat nation over here, Jake Tomlin.
So I liked it, but it was just an older kayak that just things started falling apart on it as much as I got out on it. It was already old when I got it. But I think if I take out the drive, maybe it paddled great. And maybe I could use it for like a riverboat or something. And I know it's probably still a little long for a riverboat, but it's got the high bow and everything, and it might work out. I don't know, or maybe I'll just sell it and just buy a Shoaly or something.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We were talking about Shoaly. I just had Drew Gregory on not too long ago.
Yeah.
And we were talking about getting into a Shoaly because I wanted to do some river fishing. There's a river around here called the Tuscarawas River, and there's some smallies in it, and I really haven't gone after them, but I want to. So hopefully,
the majority around me around Cleveland it's mostly rivers. There's not many lakes. You're out Portage Lakes, so it's a lot easier. But I'd like to have two boats. I do now, but I'd like to have another one for the river. That'd be great. And then my PA14, I love it. It's like the pickup truck of kayaks. You can pretty much do whatever you want to it. You can put a bow mount, stern mount. You can put both of them on there together if you want. I think I seen a video a couple of days ago of one guy. I think it was Aggressively Average. No, it was Kayak USA. I think that he tested out. He had a IX3 in the front on the bow, and I think the new Newport on the rear, and something I probably would never do, but you could do it. It's super stable. I mean, I could pretty much walk the entire length of the boat and not have to, it'd be a balancing act, but it ain't tipping and it ain't rolling unless you're, doing something if you're excessively standing on the edge of it, Great kayak. I love it. I have the IX3 spot lock or a pinpoint GPS spot lock on it. And I'm sure Tammy can attest to this. It's awesome when you're trying to learn the active target, like I've been trying to learn too. You just hit the spot lock, make sure you're facing wind or downwind, and you pretty much aren't moving. And it's great. It's just like a bass boat. You stand up, fish. You have your remote. You can, kind of zoom around, and you never really have to sit down to adjust your rudder or anything like that. You just stand, and if you need to make an adjustment, you just reach down to your vest where your remote's hooked up to, make your adjustments. It's great. That's just my style of fishing that I like to do. So
I got to get in that thing. Next time you come down here and we fish, we just got to switch kayaks for an hour because I gotta try that thing out. Try your boat.
Next time we meet up, just hey, hop in my boat and go.
Heck yeah, let's do it. And this is like the danger of like fishing kayaks. I looked around my garage. I was like, how in the world did I end up with 3 fishing kayaks? And I'm now only talking about getting a 4th one. And then I like justify in my brain, well, I need a river kayak, and I need an adventure kayak, and I need a pedal kayak, and I need one with a motor.
Dolphin a fishing kayak though, Daren?
Yes, because if a Pelican can call the Catch 100 a fishing kayak, then I can call the Aruba 10 with my one fishing rod holder DIY a fishing kayak. So we'll go with that. And Gramps, yes, why give up the comfort of a kayak for a junky John boat? I can't tell you how many John boat comments I get. Probably any given day, probably 50 comments a day on my YouTube channel. Probably 4 of them every day. It's like, why don't you just get a John boat? Get a John boat. I was like, if I wanted a John boat, I would have bought a John boat and had a channel called John Boat Fishing or something. But I don't know. Maybe I should do a video. John boat versus kayak.
Get them kayak cushions. I just got 2. First time I use them today. One on the back, one on the. These things are great.
Maybe. Oh yeah, I'll sit in that. That's the problem. I'm gonna get in your kayak and be like, that, before I know it, I need $2,000 worth of upgrades. And so it goes, folks. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening in. Thanks for our guests, Jake, Tammy, Greg, Jack. We will be bringing the heat down on Lake Gunnersville, Lake Wheeler on Veterans Day weekend. And Jake and I have been talking about putting together doing a lot of video on this, try to bring that experience to you and hopefully build this thing up for years to come. So I know it's Chad's dream to kind of do the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series next year. Once again, if you came in late to the show, I didn't do it yet. We have to do the giveaway. So let me share my screen real fast. And all you guys are signed up for this. So you could potentially win, which is kind of fun. So let me share my screen and go over to the wheel of names. The randomizer. All right. There's the randomizer. Let's go and hit shuffle a few times. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. I think I took my name out of it. Let's go ahead and spin this bad boy. See who wins a $100 gift card to castcray.com. Here we go. And the winner is... Hey, Lost in Tackle, my man.
Hey.
Congratulations, brother. I'll be sending you... I don't have to know. It's someone who won last month. I still have not yet been able to get a hold of. I just need to reach out to Chad to get his contact information. But Lost in Tackle, I have your information because I've had you on the show before. So I'll send you the email with that $100 gift card to Cast Cray. Thanks, everyone, for listening in. I will see you next week. I have the Bearded Paddler on, and kind of unique story there. He sells kayaks for a living, and so we're going to be able to take a deep dive into the kayak fishing world, fishing kayak world. We're going to talk about the new bona fide PWR, which is going to be fun. And it's going to be a good time. So go ahead. And Tammy, where are you at? You're on Instagram mostly, right?
Yeah, just Instagram, NH_fishing_gal.
Right on. Jake, where can people find you?
I don't have anything.
Find them on the water, folks. Jack,
are
you anywhere out there? I know you're not, because I tried to find your contact information. It was nearly impossible.
No, I don't have anything out there yet.
Hey, all good. And Greg, probably just 3dyak.com. Is that right?
Yeah, I used to have some other stuff I don't maintain anymore, so 3D Yak will be good enough.
Right on. Well, thank you all for your time. I look forward to fishing with you. Go Team Wendell. And I'll see you all next Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks, Darren.